Survival Dispatch, Jon Faulkner here with Chris Weatherman, Alan Kay, and we're going to do a quick video here, just talk about some of our myths when it comes to prepping, gunfights, medical, you name it. Just kind of hanging out, you know, and we figured this would be a fun video for us to just start with. So Chris, take it off with
I've got what I think's the ultimate myth, because I hear it all the time from people, and it's, I don't need to store food and stuff because I have guns and ammo. I mean, we all know somebody who said that. Yeah. I know a SWAT officer that said that. You know him.
I heard it. Yeah.
You heard him say it.
I did. I was there with you.
And he said, we kick doors for a living now, we'll just kick doors then. So the idea that you're going to fight for every bite of food every day, because that's essentially what you're going to be doing. You're going to have to go out and fight a gunfight every day to eat. You're just not going to live long. That might work once or twice, maybe. Yeah. But you got to be right every single time. The other guys only have to be right once. Right. And you know, people who think that way, and I know there are a lot of people out there that think that way. There's a lot of people that won't admit it, but I know there's a lot of people that do think that way.
Oh, sure.
And I'm not going to say I'm above it. If it came down to it, and my family's starved to death, I might be willing to go kick somebody's door in too. But I put a lot of planning in on the front end to avoid that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think it, and
and that's the point. You know, people that have had the foresight to lay in that much food that it would be worth going to do a raid on them. They've also probably
planned up the security of that food.
Had a few defensive
Sure,
thoughts
if they're that forward thinking, they've got countermeasures, and so you're in a situation now. You're going to have a firefight for every meal, and that's just not going to work out.
And two, it's the whole thing of, which just goes into another one. But if you're having to use a gun every day, you're not going to live long.
No,
I mean, just odds say you're not going to live long, and everybody thinks that whatever comes. Like you came out of Puerto Rico and you saw some stuff down there. Not everybody down there was shooting it out all day long for everything they needed. It didn't happen.
Not at all.
And a lot of people have that mentality of that's what the end is going to look like. Right. It's going to be just run and gun street battles all day long, and you're going to come home with spent brass all over you and powder. That's just not what it's going to look like. It's going to be a lot of boring, tedium, hard ass work to be able to keep things going. Mm-hmm. And the guns, they may come around, but it's going to be rare, quick, and violent when it happens.
Yeah, and I say I'll go with my favorite myth. I'm going to run out during an active shooter situation. I'm going to run out to my truck, get my truck gun, run back into the situation, and handle the issue. Most of the times, you think of any mall. Let's take a shooting at a mall.
Yeah.
By the time you were to leave the food court, run out to your truck, get it out of your truck, out of the bag, run back in while other people are running out of the mall, try to get past them while first responders are probably also starting to show because it's a public place. Yep. And you're running that way with a rifle. It's probably just never going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that your truck might even be parked on the other side of the mall. I mean, it might be where you have to go through the firefight in order to get to your truck. So if that's the theory that people are going to base their truck gun on, when it happens, I'm going to go run out and get it. It's a fallacy.
You're going to have the gun you have with you at the time.
Yeah,
that's what you're going to have.
Well, if I were in that situation, let's say I'm in the food court. There's action in the food court, and I take myself and my kids or whoever I happen to be with out of that, I'm not going back.
No.
Yeah.
I survived.
I'll help as many as I can get out.
Yeah, my job is done.
But
I don't get paid to go back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not getting paid to do it. Yeah.
So,
and you want to help if you can, but like you just said, I'm not going to run back into it. Mm-hmm. Especially if there's guys in there with long guns and stuff, and I've got a pistol on me. If he's between me and the door, that's one thing. But if I can get to the door, get the hell out of there, I'm gonna get out of there. It's just I'm not a hero. I'm not trying to be a hero. I got to be a hero to a few people. Yeah. My wife and kids. Once I got them out, I'm sorry,
that's it.
You're on your own. You should have planned for this. And it sounds harsh to say that, but that's just the facts of life. Because like you just said, you try to go back in, you're just as likely to get shot by law enforcement.
Yeah.
Or another
CCW
holder who just sees another guy with a long gun running in the door. He's gonna engage you. And the thinking of I'll put my CCW sash on, that don't mean crap. That don't.
People like the Monday morning quarterback law enforcement, but at the end of the day, they're humans too.
And they're making a snap decision.
They get a call, dude with a gun, killing everybody in the place. They come in and they see you, dude with a gun. And unless you're really quick and clear with your communications, and you go ahead and holster that thing, and when they come, they see this,
Yeah.
you've got a good chance of getting smoked yourself.
Yep.
You know, they're coming in high adrenaline. So,
What's some medical myths you might have heard of?
Well, one thing that I think, and you and I have talked about this before, your IFAC, it's not your end-all, be-all med kit. It's not your boo-boo kit. It's a trauma kit. And I think some people are carrying too much stuff. If you're carrying 3 and 4 and 5 tourniquets and half a dozen Israeli bandages and this kind of stuff, that's a little overkill. Because if you're working with a team of people, everybody should have one of these on their person. So if you've got a 6-man element, you already have 6 tourniquets.
let's think of what that acronym means. IFAC, individual first aid kit.
Yes.
What I have on me is to treat me.
Yeah.
So the 5 and 6 tourniquets and pressure dressings may not be out of place in the car kit,
Not at all. You're not carrying
but
that.
I don't need all of that on me.
Yeah.
The only guy, if you've got a group you're working with, 4, 5, 6 guys, whatever, the medic should be carrying that. Everybody shouldn't be carrying that. I mean, because you can throw all that crap in a pile and carry other stuff. That's an extra mag. Once you get rid of all that, that's just another. All right, now I can carry another mag.
And I think we all need a full, extensive, comprehensive medical kit in our vehicle.
Absolutely.
I think everyone should have that.
Yeah.
Because why not, right? The vehicle is a beast of burden. I don't have to carry that
Yep.
around. But your IFAC should be small enough to treat the things you're likely to have to treat, and small enough that you're going to want to actually carry it on a daily basis, because you will be at the scene of the crash. If it
Yeah, you
happens
will.
to So it needs to be
True story.
attached
You're always
to
the
your
first one
body.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I will say, when it comes to a car kit too, I think what a lot of people misunderstand is, even if there was something in there that you didn't know how to use,
Take
the
it.
option that, or the ability that somebody might be able to use it, that's passing a doctor, a nurse, an RN, a paramedic,
Yep.
a police officer, something like that, that might have just been getting off work from the hospital.
Yep.
They don't have anything with them, but they know how to use every single thing in your kit.
Yep.
Could save somebody's life, even if you didn't save.
Yeah. If
somebody's
you're the
life.
first guy that shows up and you've got a nice trauma kit or a nice aid kit, but you don't necessarily have the skills, you're going to be scared, nervous, whatever. All right, at least you got some stuff. You can attend to some bleeding. Well, then the doctor that was on his way home pulls up, hand him that bag, and step out. Just here, hey, tell me if you need me, but take this shit and make it work.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot too. Actually, it happens. There's more of those people in the world than we realize.
Yeah.
They can very easily roll up on a scene, and someone having just the equipment can make the difference.
Which really, I think everybody should go and get more training.
Agreed.
There are 2 holes I see in the preparedness community. First is physical fitness. That's the biggest hole. That's where they're kidding themselves. Secondly is training. They have all this stuff but don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
Or use it properly anyway.
Right.
And two, how often do we see people show up for stuff and the stuff's still in the packages? Mm-hmm. They've never taken it. Or that somebody will show up and say, hey, check out my bug-out bag. I'll dump this thing on the ground, and every item is still in the package. Now, this is a kit you just built because you intend for it to save your life someday. But you've never tested a single piece that's in it. You don't know how it works, if it works, or how well it works, But, I've got it, so I'm safe now. And a lot of that is marketing, I think, gets people, and a lot of people, buying the gear and all that, that's all cool and it's fun, but you got to take this stuff out and use it, I don't buy one of anything. I buy at least 2 of everything. That way I can tear one up, break one, and then I still have one. If that works, all right, now I have one I can put into service. So, yeah, you got to get the stuff out there and use it. And like you said, training, everybody needs training. Nobody needs a $3,000 rifle, You need a $1,000 rifle and $2,000 worth of training. Or maybe $1,000 worth of training and $1,000 worth of ammo. But get some training, And it's not that hard to find. There's guys out there that do it all the time. So
And I feel like I train a pretty good bit, and then every time I get out there and do some hard training, it just makes me want to train even more, because you keep identifying things that you need to work on and get better with. And it's a long process, so start now as opposed to later.
And I think with regards to training, I think that's the biggest thing is it's the knowledge through failure.
Yeah.
We always like knowledge through success. Mm-hmm. The one way we know how to build a fire, the one way we know how to purify water, you just keep doing it and you feel like you're just a god of starting fire because you know how to start it that one way. But then when you start going and trying different ways of starting fire and you fail at it, that's when you start to gain the actual knowledge, when you understand and figure it out and succeed with that finally, I think that's always, you know, the biggest thing that I find achievement in is when I fail and then finally succeed at it. I feel like I've gained that knowledge finally.
Yeah.
You know, I think some of the other myths too are, you know, the fact that people think that they can get home even though they can't go 5 miles with their pack. You know,
Well,
they got
people
50, you got a 50-pound, you know, let's call it whatever pack you want to, get home bag, bug out bag, whatever. It's 50 pounds. Yet you can't walk 5 miles with your computer laptop bag.
Yeah.
You know, is a huge fallacy and a huge myth. You know, in the prepping world, that as long as I got it, that 100 miles is
I'm golden.
I'm golden.
That goes right back to what I said. Physical fitness I see as number one. That's the biggest way people kid themselves. They think they're just going to rise to the occasion and put on a Superman cape that day and do what they do. But if they haven't simulated that in reality, they don't even know if they're able to do those things.
That's like in going home. So many people gave me garbage early on about Morgan only walking about 10 miles a day. I'm like, well, that's realistic. He's not totally in shape, and he's carrying a heavy load. He hadn't been doing this for a long time. So they would complain that his bag was too heavy, and then they would complain that he didn't walk anybody can walk more than 10 miles a day. Yeah. All right, well let's think about this for a minute. He's carrying a heavy load. He's not used to walking everywhere he goes, so he's only doing 10 miles a day because that's the reality, you know. And
Talk to someone who's hiked the Appalachian Trail
this guy
and ask them, how many miles did you move a day? How many pounds were you carrying? What was the terrain like? What was the season like? So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that in mountainous terrain in the winter with a full ruck, 6 miles,
that's gonna be a tough day.
And just so you guys know, you don't have to hike the Appalachian Trail. You just go right outside right here and hike Blood Mountain one time, and you'll know if you can make it or not. I would say another myth that I see medical wise is there's no need for a boo-boo kit. There's no need for Band-Aids, antiseptic.
Yeah.
Oh, I got duct tape, I got rags, I got this and that. Based on the situation that's happened, you know, if we talk about a complete collapse of society, where if that infected finger gets nasty, you know, if you're once again, if you're walking home and it's a 2-week walk, and that finger gets infected, and you die from a simple, say, blade cut.
Yeah.
You cut your finger opening your MRE to eat that night, and now you're freaking, you know, 102 degree temperature because your body now has an infection in it.
Yeah.
Because you thought I could put a piece of duct tape around it and I'll be good. Now, it's another thing if the hospital's completely open and all you're trying to do is stop the bleeding until you can get across town to get that thing stitched up. You know, but boo-boo kits that have antiseptic and, you know, ointment and stuff in them to keep those small things from becoming large issues is, I think, something that is a complete myth when people say, you don't need a Band-Aid, you know. And it's like, how many times has, like, just duct tape? Yeah, I know duct tape works. But a paper towel and duct tape, and then try to do something with that finger, it's a whole lot easier to just put a Band-Aid on it, you know.
Two of the first things I would put in a non-trauma kit would be Imodium AD, and then maybe some bacitracin ointment. And the biggest thing, my pet peeve is, okay, the boo-boo kit is here, and your IFAC, your blowout kit, your trauma kit, whatever you call it, is here. Do not put that stuff in the same bag.
No.
Because if Chris is over here bleeding to death, I don't need to be, you know, pulling out knuckle and fingertip Band-Aids. And
moleskin
and moleskin and all this stuff to get to something while he's bleeding. I need to deal with this right now. So those kits need to be separate places, separate pouches. They do not need to be combined.
That's what I said that earlier about
thing.
your trauma kit, your IFAC, not the place for the boo-boo kit. Same thing. That stuff should be, because it doesn't need to be immediately accessible either. It doesn't need to be that I need to be able to do this with both hands, one hand, because you know, if you're bleeding that bad, it's time to go into the trauma kit. You're not the boo-boo kit. So
trauma kit time's not with you.
No, it's
boo-boo
not.
kit, you've got some time.
Yeah.
And, you know, okay, what about it only takes a gallon of water a day? That's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. A gallon. Calculate it as a gallon. I mean, we start talking cleaning yourself, cleaning other things, drinking,
washing the dishes,
washing, things like that. Boy, a gallon becomes a pint.
It makes you, well, if you've ever done that or had to do that, been in an austere environment where you had to ration your water, it really makes you appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you understand how much we kind of unconsciously use,
Oh
all the
yeah.
time.
Because what happens when you're in that austere environment? If you've got a gallon of water, what do you use it for? Drinking and cooking if you have to.
Yeah.
You ain't washing nothing with it. You ain't cleaning your body with it. You're going to, because it needs to be in here, not spilled onto my dishes.
Right.
You're going to drink it, and everything else becomes secondary, and it won't happen
Yeah, your hygiene standards start to get lower.
real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start to lower your standards. Yeah. In fact, that's my motto. If at first you don't succeed, lower your standards. That's how I've made it this long.
They can't get much lower at this point.
There's solid wisdom in that.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other quotes or myths that you guys hear, all the time that make you scratch your head?
So one of the biggest myths, and I'm sure as soon as I say this, you guys will agree, is the folks that say I don't need to prep because I've got my bug out bag, and when the shit hits the fan, I'm gonna grab my bag, I'm gonna run to the woods, and I'm gonna live there.
Sure you are.
Now, as people who have done some of that,
Yeah, as someone who can speak with authority on that situation, you're going to die.
Yeah,
Slow, painful death.
I mean,
Tell us how the first 33 days go.
yeah, right,
Not bad.
Yeah.
But day 40,
yeah.
off the cliff.
Folks that think that, because number one, you're not alone in that thinking. Everybody thinks they're going to do that. That's what everybody thinks they're going to do. And it sucks. I always tell folks there's the romance of that idea when you're sitting at home in a comfortable couch and you got a cold drink or a hot drink, depending on the weather, and a football game going, and you're sitting there daydreaming about, grabbing your rifle and shooting it out all the way to the woods and then getting out there and,
Dying of gangrene from the wound that you don't have definitive care to treat
exactly.
as you slowly starve to death.
And you drank bad water, so you're got diarrhea constantly, and now you've got an infection, gangrene, like you said. It's not going to happen.
I find it so many areas. Take Florida, for example, up north, definitely northeast, things like that. You can't go 5 or 10 miles without being on somebody else's property.
Oh yeah.
Somebody else's house, another town, another gas station. That's just kind of the society that we live in.
Yeah.
Now, if you live in Arizona or middle of nowhere, Texas, okay, yeah, you can take off and be by yourself for a while.
Yeah.
But in most states, I leave my house, I walk 10 miles, and now I'm at Alan's house. Well, if Alan don't want me there, I got to keep going.
Well,
then
and,
I'm at Chris's
and
house.
if you leave your
it's
house
like-
and you walk 10 miles, like if you leave your house and walk 10
Yeah.
miles and you're at Alan's house, yeah, you've only crossed about 400 other houses to get there.
Right.
So, and the thought that you're gonna, like, I live on the edge of the Ocala National Forest. It's the biggest national forest in Florida, big chunk of food desert. Honestly, people think they're gonna go out there and live, and it always makes you laugh. But there's very little water in the thing. You got to know where they're at. There's very little food. When the pioneers first came to Florida, tried to settle it, they discovered quick it was useless. You couldn't grow nothing in it. It's just sand, pure white sand. Can't grow nothing in it. And everybody else thinks they're going to run out there because everybody goes hunting out there now, and they run around their 4x4s and stuff. And
That's what I think with the.
Yeah.
You hear people say, "I'm going to hunt for a living." I'm like, "You've not done much hunting, have you?"
No.
I mean, let's look at this thing objectively.
Yeah, and two, how many people are going to be trying that as well?
Right. That's what enables the populations of game to be what they are now. We have all of these laws in place.
Strict management.
Strict management. People are not doing that as a matter of daily course.
Yeah.
They're not out there subsisting off of these animals. Furthermore, when they go, they drive in a $40,000 pickup truck with a $700 rifle with a $400 scope, and then they get a $10,000 ATV, and they ride around with a belly full of biscuit and gravy, and then they take the tree stand that they had to go buy and climb the tree, and they call it, "I'm self-sufficient." But look at all that dependency.
I went and got my own meat.
Yeah, you're dreaming, and
Well, and take that same guy that all right, he got his deer, and he's going to take it home, and he's going to hang it in his garage, and he's going to cut it up, and he's going to take it in the kitchen and vacuum seal it into plastic bags and stick it in his freezer. Well, what happens? All right, let's just strip all that shit away from him. Everything we just said, let's take all of it away from him now.
Yep.
All right, maybe he's got his rifle. We'll give him that because he had his rifle when he got to the woods. And he manages to kill a deer. And it's July in Florida.
right.
and the flies are everywhere, and you're trying to butcher this deer. And all right, now you've got it butchered because you know how. Obviously, you're a hunter. You butchered your deer. What are you gonna do with it now? Well, I'm gonna smoke it. Well, have you ever done that before? Have you ever done primitive smoking? Have you ever built a primitive smoker and tried to do that? What are you gonna use? You know, in Florida, what are you gonna smoke your wood? You know,
And once it's dry, how are you going to keep it dry?
how are you gonna keep? Yeah, do you have containers? Because you know, one of Alan's famous sayings, and I agree fully with him, is the hardest thing to improvise in nature, and I know you hate this, is a metal container.
Yeah.
It's because it's fact. It is. Any container really is difficult to improvise.
Any containers,
But a metal one is impossible to improvise in nature.
Yeah.
Unless you come across a trash heap someplace. But, you know, having your dry meat in a way to keep it dry, like you just said, and to keep the bugs off of it and stuff, keep it where you can eat it. It's not, there's the romance and the reality. Sitting there, like I said, when you're sitting in your living room in a comfy chair thinking about this stuff, it all sounds great and glorious. The reality never lives up to the romance.
Yeah.
Once you're there and you're hot and you're tired and the bugs are eating you alive and you stink, you know, and you're tired of, you know, crapping in a hole in the sand over here, and it all goes away real quick.
We do romanticize it. You
Yeah.
know, people have this romantic notion that before everybody came here to the States, you know, and the First Nations people were here, it was just harmonious and everybody was just, you know, living beautifully. If you look at the archaeological history, they slaughtered each other on a daily basis.
Yes, they did.
Over territory, over food, over this, over that, and nothing's new.
Over
under the
resources.
sun. Resources. And nothing's new. You know, it's just that same old battle for survival. And if all that way of living was really great, wouldn't we still be doing it?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
and two, think about this, like you just said, when the First Nations people were here, how many buffalo were in this country? Mm-hmm. And they were all over the country,
yeah,
too.
the land density, population density was totally different. As it exists today, people are not going to live off the land.
Well, so think about that. Think about the population density when white men started to hunt the buffalo herds out. Mm-hmm. And there was estimates of like 15 million or 30 million buffalo, I think, were here. Mm-hmm. And at the population density of that time, we nearly exterminated them. Yeah. So imagine what's going to happen to deer herds in this country at our population density.
Yeah.
If that's what people are relying on for a food source. So not only are you going to have people out there that know what they're doing, you're going to have people out there that have no idea what they're doing. Some of them are going to screw around and manage to kill a deer and not have a clue what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, there's that the kid up in Alaska, what's his name?
Christopher McCandless.
McCandless. He managed to kill a moose with a .22 rifle. Didn't know how to butcher it, didn't know how to preserve the meat, and it laid in front of his school bus and rotted. Well, nothing he could do with it because he did not know what to do with the animal once it was on the ground. And that will happen a lot. It'll happen to cattle and hogs and deer and every other kind of creature out there. Yeah. You'll have people that come out, manage to kill something and not know what to do with it. And out of frustration, a lot of the time, they're going to just walk off and leave it laying there. Or they'll cut off of a cow enough meat to carry away to eat that day, and the rest of the animal's going to lay there and rot. You know, and even people that know what they're doing are going to lose it because we don't practice primitive storing methods, you know, drying and smoking and those kind of things. And it's a lot harder to smoke meat in a primitive smoker than it is a pellet smoker or an electric smoker. You know, that's easy to do. And so there's the romance. You know, it's like when we got to Vancouver and they were asking us what we thought it was going to be like. What do you think it's going to be like out there? I'm like, oh, it's going to suck bad, a lot.
So I told them it's going to suck woefully.
Yeah, that's what I told them.
It's going to be one big suck fest. It's going to be terrible.
Some of the other guys are like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, no, this is going to be BS. It's going to suck.
Okay, there's a perfect example. In that experience, people took bow and arrow.
I took one.
People had taken slingshots
Yep.
and all this sort of thing. And now it's been, 10 people per season?
Yep.
They're
5
approaching
seasons.
their 5th season. And to my knowledge, no one has killed anything
No one's killed a single animal
with a
other than fish.
projectile weapon. And we're operating out of doors full time.
Yep.
That's the reality you will face. And I think back to my time there. Let's say I had a bow, an arrow, a slingshot, some type of projectile weapon. If I had made every shot that presented itself to me, that would have granted me about 4 meals over the span of 56 days. Not a make or break.
No.
So I still maintain the position that in survival, hunting is supplemental at best.
Yeah.
They called them hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
And later we became agrarian because hunter-gatherers suck.
Yeah.
You know, it just did. And now the way the world is, it's going to be even worse. And I think the only chance you have is if you can cultivate food. You know, if you have that kind of already started, you've got some blueberries and some apple trees, and you've got raised beds, and you know how to do all of that, then you've probably got a shot at it. But even so, you would still need deep food storage.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's not always, when you're sitting around thinking about these things, you really need to think about it in the worst possible scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to sit around and war game, what you're going to do, go outside when it's pouring ass rain or something and sit out there and think about it, or when it's really hot, go out there and sit in the sun with no shade and think about this crap, because make yourself uncomfortable, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be uncomfortable, and like you just said, it's going to be a suck fest. It's
Now,
not going to be any fun.
having said that, I do carry a 1022 in my rucksack. I can and will kill things with it, so I will be doing some hunt, but I'm not pinning all my hopes to that. It's supplemental.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do primarily is passive food collection, to be able to trap, things like that, to be able to forage,
Wild
know the
animals,
plants in your area, that sort of thing, and then it all comes together. It has a cumulative effect for your sustenance. But to rely on the hunt solely is probably
It's a long day.
a fallacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, those are just a few of the myths. We wanted to just, sit on the couch and just kind of, shoot the breeze here and talk about, some of the things that we've heard, throughout the years. If you guys got any other myths that you guys kind of want to debunk, go ahead and comment, leave them below. Make sure you like this video, and until next time, be safe.